Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It is Tuesday night. We are 2 nights away from the NFL draft. And there's a ton of buzz going on at the Woody Hayes for Ohio State football. I am Kirk Barton. I appreciate you guys joining us tonight on Buckeye Scoop Live. We have a tremendous show. There's a giant offensive tackle coming in to visit from San Diego State, transfer portal kid. We're going to take a little look at his film. And we're going to break down where are these guys going to end up. This seems like a pretty dramatic NFL draft as we march the last 2 days. CJ Stroud, is he going to go 1, 2, 7, kind of all over the place? You got Paris Johnson, likely top 12-ish type pick. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is a guy that could go anywhere from about 7 all the way down to 23. Different mock drafts have him kind of all over the place. So really excited. So as always, we appreciate you guys. If you guys could shout out where you are from. Again, you guys have been doing this in the comments. I always get a kick out of seeing where you're from. If you're from Canton, Ohio, and you watch in Canton, Ohio every day, write Canton, Ohio. If you're in Massillon, if you're in Columbus, Naples, Florida, Japan, South Africa, France, Indonesia, you guys are all over the place. Appreciate you guys. It's fantastic. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a like. Click subscribe. And if you like our live shows, especially, click the little alert bell because you'll get a little alert on your phone or on your computer every single time we go live. So you'll never miss a live show. Because again, I love interacting with you guys. That's the entire benefit to doing everything live is that you guys bring great questions, great commentary. It's always a blast to just interact with you guys. A lot of you guys are regulars. So it's kind of like just homies hanging out, having a good time. And again, I appreciate you guys so much. It's a blast. A little bit of Ohio State news. Caleb Burton is a kid that played a little bit last year. He is hitting the portal. Not surprising at all with Brandon Innes showing up and then J.J. Smith the following year. There are going to be some superstars and there's going to be attrition. I mean, that's the hard part about when you're at Ohio State is that every year at Ohio State, man, they're trying to bring in another big dog, another guy to take your spot. And, Caleb Burton is going to go look for a better situation. Already passed on the depth chart by Carnell Tate, who was fantastic this spring. Brandon Innes is showing up. I mean, the Rogers brothers are fantastic. So, hey, man, some of these guys going to be looking at those guys saying, yeah, I better go elsewhere where it's a lot easier to see the field and get significant minutes because that wide receiver room is absolutely loaded. Guys got to do what's best for them. I mean, that's part of football in modern times is guys need to go do their thing and go try to get some catches because they all want to make it to the league, but you can't make it to the league when you're ninth string at Ohio State. Some really big news breaking. I know that you guys are obsessed with the tackle position right now. Josh Simmons is a big old boy, about 6'7", 310, right tackle from San Diego State. He's going to come visit Justin Fry and Ryan Day, I believe Friday, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with these kids. I think that the hardest part about this is that these kids want to be guaranteed they're going to be the starters at their positions. I don't think he's good enough to guarantee him a spot. It'd be one thing if Orlando Pace or Paris Johnson was walking in trying to transfer in. But a kid from San Diego State who is a marginal guy, maybe after his last year he's a redshirt freshman, so you got to get him for a couple more years. But I don't think he's a dominant player. Think he's a good player. I don't know if he's Ohio State good. Again, because I look at what do we need? We need Paris and Dewan, first roundish type tackles. Is he that? I don't think so. But right now you need some stopgap guys at tackle. You need some guys that can play. You need depth. I think that part of it is we're just significantly young because we had 3 guys enter the draft early out of the 5 offensive line starters, which is incredible. Something I don't think that's ever happened in the history of Ohio State. So when that happens and, on the offensive line, you don't play a rotation. It's not like playing wide receiver where you play 5, 6, 7, 8 guys or the D line plays, 10, 11, 12 guys. On the O line, you play 5 guys the whole season. And then you might have Enoch or Donnie Jackson or somebody who's like that 6th guy, that tight end that they like to do. And then like the backups or, on the O-line, they don't get in until you're beating Rutgers or Indiana by 65 points, and then you put in the backups. So you don't get that rotation. The backups don't get experience like they do at pretty much every other position. So again, I think that, offensive linemen don't play special teams, so they don't get the game reps that a linebacker, a safety, a backup tight end, or receiver would playing on special teams, which a lot of coaches like to call teams, period. So O-line guys don't play teams, so they don't get as much game reps. They don't get as much time on the field. So it's hard. I mean, Justin Fry has to earn his check this year. And I think Justin's a fantastic offensive line coach, but man, you lose Paris. They don't pay you $1.5 million to coach Paris and Dewan. They pay you $1.5 million to coach Josh Fryer and Zen and Tigra and these guys that are sophomores and they're freshmen and they're a guard playing left tackle who blew his knee out at the Michigan game in 2021. Josh Fryer, those are the guys they pay you to coach. My German Shepherd dog could coach Paris Johnson to make him a first round pick. It's not that hard. But when you've got guys that aren't Paris Johnson and you're a little short on the line, again, because nobody really expected, except for me, for Luke Whippler to declare early. I knew Luke was going to leave by October, but it kind of shocked the coaches when he took off. And, if Luke was back, then you look at the O-line, you're like, okay, we put Donnie at left tackle, got Luke in the middle, Matt, kind of fill that thing out. But, when Luke left, it really is a little sucker punch, not a sucker punch, because I think Luke's, he made the right decision. I think he's going to be a really good center in the NFL, but it leaves you a little short when you have three guys leave early. Again, that's never happened in the history of Ohio State's offensive line. And it's just part of it, and really, we had three guys leave early this year and we had Nick Petit leave early last year. So, you don't generally see offensive linemen leave early anywhere, let alone Ohio State. There's been maybe a handful since Orlando Pace and Corey Stringer left early. So, it's a whole different ball of wax than the guys take off. So Josh Simmons is a guy. He's very intriguing. Like I said, I watched this tape. I was surprised. He's got some movement skills. Again, you can't always judge it based on the competition, just because they're not playing great competition out here. But we'll throw this tape on for you guys real quick. So here he is. He's a big old boy. He's 77. I wish that he played left tackle, but he plays right. So he's got to kind of monitor the movement skills, look at the ankle flexion. Again, like the set, he gets out there and covers it up. Again, I don't like I like this. I like the movement skills. I don't like the set. I think that something that, and this is something I would teach Tiger after I evaluated his spring game. When you're an offensive tackle and you have, let's see if the center's coming. See, the center's not even coming with him here. When you have a three technique, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of game real quick on how to coach offensive line. So this is what they call a three tech. A three technique means he is on the outside shoulder of the guard. That's what this defensive tackle is called. It's called a three technique defensive tackle. It's like your classic Aaron Donald, your John Randall, your big time pass rushing guys used to your three technique. And then over here you have your nose guard. He's over here in a G. When I went against a three technique, or when I coach tackles against three techniques, I'd always teach them to set vertically here, and I'd teach them to drag this inside arm kind of like this, so it's kind of in front of them. Just to be cognizant of a stunt. There's a lot of times that, the way he's jumping out here, if I'm the defensive line coach, I'm saying, guys, let's run a TE. A TE is, you go TE. That means that the tackle is going to penetrate here and pick, the D tackle is going to penetrate and pick off the offensive tackle. And then the D tackle is going to fake a rush and then work inside. So I used to run these on scout team. So he'd be the first guy, he'd be the second guy. Tiger got beat on this multiple times in the spring game. If I could talk to Tiger, if you're listening, don't set the way you set versus a three technique. Just set vertically, make sure they're not doing this game, because this is a thing where with this technique, the way that he sets here, if these guys ran a TE, this would be like stealing, because, the guard would have to switch this and he doesn't really have anyone to switch it with. And the end would just be, it'd be free money basically for him. So, but I like the movement skills. Sorry, I just dropped a pencil on the ground. But you just have to evaluate. Some of the scheme stuff is a little different. Excuse me, like my Apple Pencil. Sorry, guys. But I like the movement skills. I love the 6'6". I love the length. Good arms. Again, the feet are nice and light, which is good. Again, now he's not exactly playing. He's not playing Bama. He's not playing Georgia. I'm not really sure who he's playing, but they're not exactly world beaters. This kid. This looks like a Mark Pantoni type defensive end where he just gets, he barely gets touched and he falls on the ground. So, that's, that's not Jack Sawyer. That's not JT Tumalo. But again, you're evaluating the movement speed when you're against an inferior opponent. Again, I don't like the set. I get covering the guy up, but I don't think that this guy is a speed rush guy that can get around your edge. But but he's a nice athlete. Again, I would set vertical here versus this just to be cognizant of the game. If these guys ran a game, it'd be basically, it'd be too easy to get through here. But, I like the feet. I like the movement. It'd be interesting. Like I said, I think if he did commit to Ohio State, he probably would be, if not the day one starter at right tackle, he'd be close just because I think his movement is a little bit better than Tigra's, a little bit better than Zen's. He started last year. Again, not high level competition, but he's got the movement skills. Big kid. It'd be interesting to see how he'd do in Ohio State's strength and conditioning program. San Diego State surprisingly has some good offensive tackles. Kyle Turley went there. Ephraim Salam, who's the guy that I played with in Detroit, he went to San Diego State. Chester Pitts. So they've had actually a few NFL guys come out of San Diego State, but like I said, he's a big light guy. He gets up there. I love cutting. Guys that cut are near and dear to my heart because there's nothing defensive linemen hate more than when you go after their knees. And you hit them in the knees, or there's a linebacker there, they'll hate you forever, which is great because you want your linemen to be nasty. You want them to get after these guys and put them in the dirt. So the run fits look good. Again, he's jacking this guy up here. Again, this is not good competition, but and again, I wish this play ran a little bit longer, but he's getting some impact in here. He gets his hands in nice. So like I said, there's some stuff to work with here. And again, we need to figure out who our tackles are going to be. Again, I would go Donnie and Josh Fryer at right tackle, but if you get this kid and you put him at right and you put Donnie at left, I think that'd be a really good start, but it just depends on what these guys want to do. But you got to have your best athletes out at tackle. Again, this is he's a little upright here. If you're going against a good defensive end, not this guy. If you're going against JT Tuimoloau or Jack Sawyer and your feet are surfboarding back like this vertically, they're going to put you on Jupiter because they're going to bull rush you into the next dimension with your feet that close together. You kind of like, when he makes contact here, again, this guy doesn't have the requisite power. He kind of look like a bowling pin. You guys all go bowling and it's like, if you get hit with your feet like that, you're going to get knocked out and you're going to be on the highlight reel for some defensive ends draft tape. But again, like I like him. He's got, again, these are really short clips, but he's getting into the guy. He's again, it's something where the talent that they're going against isn't great, but he's got size, he's got light feet. Again, is he Paris? No. I don't know how strong he is, but and again, if you coach him up, again, he's only a redshirt freshman, so he's got a lot of learning to do. But he gets out of his stance quick. Like I said, I think that there's some tools to work with him. He's a guy that you can't promise a guy like this a starting spot, but you say, hey, you'll compete, you'll be in the first two huddles the first day you get here, and then you just work it out with Tigra, work it out with Zen, and figure it out because you need pass protection. Again, I think that here's some one-on-one pass pro. Again, stance is a little funky. It's interesting they don't have knee braces on here, but he gets out quick. Again, this is a pure speed rush guy. 30 is probably about 210 pounds. Trying to go around the edge. Does a really nice job getting that inside hand on him, turning him, flipping his hips, and pushing him past the pocket, putting him in the dirt. So here they got the knee braces on there. It's a little bit more like it. But again, like the set's nice. The jam's there. Covers him up good. And again, this is not JT Tuimoloau. This is not Jack Sawyer. This isn't, the big time guys he's going to go against at Ohio State, but you're just evaluating the movement skills. You want to see, can the guy get into the spot? Can he get to his spot? How are his hands? And I like him. Like I said, it's just, you keep, you watch these one-on-one pass rush drills they're kind of stupid. I kind of hate them, but you can evaluate movement skill. You can work on some things, but I've seen this drill ruin kids. I think it's good to do for, some basic technique stuff, but it's not real football. And I think that there's too much stock put in one-on-one pass rush. I've seen guys that literally could never win a rep at this drill, and then they go into a game and then they can lock down really good players because there's more of a swirl of things going on between the run and pass. But his hands are nice. I don't like the outside hand down the middle here. I think that's really risky. Again, against a guy like 39 who, this guy would never play at Ohio State, but you can do that kind of stuff. But against a good player like JT Tuimoloau, he's going to, you put that red hand down the middle, it's like death essentially. But What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. Love to see what you guys think of him. Um, you know, great question, Jesse. So I trained Reed Fragel when I worked with Urban. I was the offensive tackles coach. Essentially, he kind of made me he said, "You're the offensive tackle coach." He gave me Reed. He gave me Daryl Baldwin, two guys that were conversions from one from tight end, one from D tackle. And Reed was a good player. I mean, he was a guy that a lot of talent. It was a lot of work, and he put in a lot of work. But yeah, I really liked Reed. So we got a little bit of high school film here too, just so we can kind of get a little bit of game film. Where's he at? Let me see. See, I think he's playing. He played defense too. So he played D tackle. So you got some D tackle film. Here he is playing guard. He's a big guard. He looks heavy here, but he played both ways in high school. So you'll see him playing a little bit of D tackle. But again, it's just like a little bit of a little bit more than just his San Diego State stuff. Again, they have him in at guard here, which is crazy because he's a 6'6" kid, and you'd think they'd always play as a tackle. But he looks so like he's lost some weight. He looks a lot lighter now in college. There's a nice finish. Like I said, he looks more explosive at San Diego State than he did in high school, which again, I think it's probably strength and conditioning. I think it's probably, they probably got him a little thinner because it looks like he moves a lot better then. But, again, he's playing D tackle. He's getting up the field, and you just try to evaluate what you guys can evaluate. We're going to do some draft stuff too here. Do you guys, what are your plans for the draft? Toss that in the thing. If you guys have questions, I think that the CJ Stroud thing is kind of the fascinating deal of this year's draft with the amount of smoke that's going on with CJ. I can't imagine him falling past 4 with the Colts. Doesn't sound like he's going to go 2 now for whatever reason. I think it's a godsend that he doesn't go 2. I think that the Houston Texans right now with a defensive head coach, no skill players whatsoever. They have a fantastic left tackle, but that's kind of it. I think that first spot is the ideal spot for CJ just because, you have Frank Wright, who's a quarterback guy, quarterback coach. They took a left tackle first round last year. That was the spot I was hoping CJ would go to because, again, I think that people don't realize how important the infrastructure is to the quarterbacks when you're dealing with these guys. I mean, you've got some guys that never really have a chance. They go to the wrong program with the wrong coach. I think that if you can get to an offensive coach that really understands quarterback play and understands offense, it's really beneficial for quarterbacks. So I'm just hoping CJ goes to a good program. I hope he goes to, I think Indy would be a decent spot just because, they've got Quentin Nelson. They've got a couple linemen. They're not in a total rebuild, but they're pretty close to being in a rebuild. They got a decent defense. I think Houston would be just an absolute albatross for him to go to. But yeah, I'd love to see where you guys look for some of these guys to go. I think that I'm gonna pull up a mock draft here and we'll just kind of go through what are some potential spots for Paris. This is a really interesting final mock draft. They had the Ravens taking Anthony Richardson, which is crazy. So we'll just go through this final mock draft of Bucky Brooks, NFL.com. So he's got Bryce Young going 1, which doesn't surprise anybody at all. Tyree Wilson, who is a senior defensive end, going 2. That would be crazy, especially given their quarterback situation right now. I think that would be a little risky. But again, I've seen crazier. Will Anderson going 3. I think Will Anderson is the best player in the draft. Give me 1 second. Energy drink. Shout out Celsius. I think Will Anderson is the best player in the draft. So, if he goes 3, that works. You slide it down. There's CJ at 4. Again, I think that's the best spot for him. Andrew Luck did well there. Peyton Manning did well there. Close to home. It's not a crazy media city, which is good. It's a little more Midwestern, a little more. It's less daunting than going to a bigger city. Christian Gonzalez going 5 overall. Let's see if I can get this off here. And then you've got Jalen Carter at 6. Again, I think he's a guy that could go anywhere from 2 to 6. I think that honestly, if the Texans took him at 2, I think it'd be a great pick. But I think that, you need to find your quarterback. cornerback from Illinois. This is a crazy one. So Lucas Van Ness at 8 is a guy that didn't even start for Iowa, and he's likely going to be a top 10-ish type pick. And I don't know how you pick a guy that couldn't start for his college team in the top 10, but that's why NFL people are morons. This is the one. So the Bears taking the kid from Northwestern. I think you should take PJ there. I think Paris Johnson has the upside of be a Tyron Smith, be a Hall of Fame type tackle. But I think Skoronski is going to go ahead of him. I think that the scouts are pretty unanimous in that they think that he's a more polished player. But, Paris is he's a true junior. He's 6'7". He's got longer arms. His arms are about 4 inches longer than Peter Skoronski's. He's a good player, but I just think Paris has no ceiling on what he can do. So, if Paris reunites with Mike Vrabel, then the Titans are my new favorite team because you have Nick Petit-Frere and you have Paris Johnson side by side as the battery for the Titans. So you have your left and right tackle are both Buckeyes. So I'd be really excited about that. Will Levis going 12 is a crazy one. Again, could he go 12? Could he go 2? Who knows? If Nevada Buck was on here, Dalton Kincaid going 13 would be absolutely hilarious. Bijan to the Patriots makes no sense. Broderick Jones is the guy that could jump in front of Paris. There's been a lot of buzz about him. He's a left tackle from Georgia, super talented. Joey Porter is the guy that we torched last year. And we're going to get into Jackson Smith-Njigba at 23. He's the last Buckeye. I do not think that DeWand is going to go in the first round. So that'll probably be it for the Bucks. I don't think Jackson lasts to 23, but again, I've seen crazier things happen in the realm of the NFL draft. Where do you guys think, in the comments, I want to know, where do you think CJ Stroud ends up? Because, I think that CJ is a guy that could be all over the place. But I think Indy makes a lot of sense. The Texans make a lot of sense too, but that's going to be the big intrigue of Thursday night is when you have CJ Stroud. Where does he go? Where does Jackson Smith-Njigba go? I can't see Paris slipping past the Titans. It just seems like they cut Taylor Lewan. That left tackle spot is just such it's a wide open spot with Taylor being gone now. They got to get younger. And I think that they've got a really good chance. I mean, I think that, for his family to go to the Titans, Nashville, Tennessee, for Monica Johnson, Mike Daniel, and that whole crew, which is Paris's mom and stepdad, it'd be fantastic for him, So, but yeah, it's all jazzed up right now. I just want to see where these guys end up. So appreciate you guys. So we got Akron, man. You guys are all over the place. Akron, Vegas, Greensburg, Shelby, Ohio. I mean, I love Indian Lake, Findlay. I love Findlay. It's awesome. I don't think Caleb Burton played last year. He might have gotten in late in the game to redshirt. We got Vegas in the house, got Buford, Georgia, New Albany. I love it. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think Stroud, I don't think he ends up in Vegas just because they just signed Garoppolo for a fortune. So, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Looks like we got Nevada Buck joining the show now. So the headphone bandit is on here. Nevada, are you here? We've been going for about 20 minutes without you, so you can start carrying the show now. 23 minutes with no Nevada. Nevada has his headphones. You there?
I'm here.
So we're talking NFL draft. The chat is super active tonight. Where do you think CJ Stroud ends up in the NFL draft?
Boy, I think the popular consensus is the Colts, and I think that kind of makes a lot of sense given where they're situated in the draft right now. But I think he might slip a little bit further than that. And, I think if he goes down, if you're the Titans and he gets down there, how do the Titans not take him?
I mean, that would be the shocker. I mean, but here's the thing. If Aaron Rodgers can fall into the 20s, then anything can happen to any player. Aaron Rodgers may be the greatest, top 2-3 greatest quarterbacks that's ever lived. And he had that slide. And, like CJ, I don't know if he's going to have a slide like that. But, with the NFL draft, you just never know sometimes. Like when people are like Will Levis over CJ Stroud, not as prolific. I don't know. All right, this is so we got a super chat. So it says, okay, appreciate you, Pedro. CJ to Houston if it's guaranteed. Jackson Smith and Jigba at 12. I mean, that's what I would do if I was Houston and I could take both those guys. If I could take CJ at 2 and then Jackson Smith and Jigba at 12, like why wouldn't you? I mean, Houston has no receivers of note. They got rid of Brandon Cooks. I think that if you could draft a battery, I think it's super intelligent to do. I know the Bears aren't going to do that because they've already, they wasted the pick on Chase Claypool and they traded for DJ Moore because it makes sense to get Jackson Smith and Jigba for Justin Fields, but I don't think they're in the market for that. I think that they're going to take a left tackle with their pick, but yeah, I think CJ's going to end up being the story of the draft. If he goes past 2, where does he fall to? I mean, I can't imagine him slipping past 4, but if the Colts pass on him too, I mean, who knows? I mean, and then does somebody trade up to get him? Does he go to Vegas at 7? And they groom him for a few years behind Garoppolo after they gave him that big fat deal. So I think it's gonna be crazy. And shout out to Temecula, my boy Todd from Temecula. Yeah, we got about 100 comments on where people are watching from. We got East Tennessee, Alaska, Steubenville. So appreciate all you guys. Yeah, Noah Brown's in Houston now, which again, I think Noah's had a really nice NFL career for Noah Brown, but if you could add Jackson Smith and Jigba to that roster, that makes a lot of sense, man. Because especially if you get CJ at 2, but I just don't. Would you be Nevada? Would you be stunned if Jackson Smith or if CJ Stroud actually did end up going 2 overall?
I would be stunned. Yeah, at
Yeah.
this point, I would be extremely stunned. I've talked to people that are out there in the agent community, and they just feel like every draft there's one kid that just kind of falls, and it happens. And the results on that are mixed. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers is one of the great stories where had a first ballot Hall of Fame career. So it doesn't really mean it's not how you start; it's where you finish. So, but I'd be stunned if you went 2 right now. I don't think Houston likes him. I don't think Houston likes him, and um, yeah, I think I think there's a real good chance that he slips. And like I said, when 1 and 2 slip past you, then you wonder if 4's like licking their chops, or are they just going, we'll just pass and let them go on down. But yeah, I think CJ is going to slide, and I think it will be interesting to see where he ends up. The best thing for him would be to end up in a situation where he doesn't have to play right away. Plays like Vegas where he could sit behind a Garoppolo, where he's not expected to come in and be the savior or the guy that's got to step in day one, because you know how difficult those situations are. You always preach about playing quarterback at any level is really about your infrastructure, and those teams at the bottom don't have a lot of infrastructure, and trying to put it all on CJ. I mean, look at CJ's life up until now. Okay, it's like, okay, CJ, let's go play football. Here's your wide receivers: Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. We'll give you multiple offenses, All Americans on the offensive line, All Americans at running back, great tight ends. Ryan Day's I mean, it's been a pretty blessed existence right now. At the NFL, it's not. It's going to be the exact opposite of that. He's going to be all of a sudden he's going to become Purdue instead of Ohio State, and he's going to have guys flying in at him, and not great wide receivers, and not great tight ends, and not great offensive linemen. And I think it'd be better for CJ personally, because I don't look at him and say finished product. I think it'd be better for him to sit a couple years and learn and grow and be better prepared to take it over at that situation. So this could be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm telling you, that's if I'm a quarterback, man, and I can slide down the board and go to a good franchise and not go to some place where I'm going to get pulverized. Like, because again, there's just something to me that like Houston just seems like it's like death's door for a quarterback. Deshaun Watson wanted out of there really bad. CJ Stroud and has David Mugliata, who's the agent from Athletes First. He's one of the power agents in the NFL. Same agent as Deshaun Watson. So I think that definitely is a something, because, David drove Deshaun out of there. Deshaun did not want to play there, so they forced the trade to Cleveland. Obviously negotiated that unbelievable deal where you got, all the money guaranteed, $230 million guaranteed. But I just think that, again, I've said it 50 times, but if you're a quarterback and you have to go play for a defensive head coach, who's, again, like I'd want to go to an offensive specialist. I just think that when you look at the guys that are really good and really developed quarterbacks, like the Andy Reeds and I mean even Nick Sirianni with Jalen Hurts, who's now the highest paid player in the NFL. It just is advantageous. Mike McDaniel in Miami. If you go into those high flying offenses and you've got a guy that really understands offense, as opposed to a defensive guy who was a linebacker in D'Amico Ryans. And again, fantastic player, really good player at Alabama, really good player in the NFL, but it's going to be a defensive driven program. Like when I played for Lovie Smith in Chicago, Lovie's a fantastic coach, but he's a defensive guy. So, you're kind of at the mercy of like a Ron Turner as the offensive coordinator. And it just doesn't yield great results for the offense because everything kind of revolves around the defense based on the head coach. When I played for Mike Singletary with the 49ers, like the whole organization was defense and running game. So Alex Smith, who is a really talented quarterback, never developed there until Jim Harbaugh showed up, and then they ended up shipping him to Kansas City, and he's pretty good at Kansas City. I made a couple Pro Bowls, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see CJ slide. I mean, he's going to be the guy in the green room that they're going to have the cameras on and how he handles it. But again, I think, man, if you're a quarterback and you can slide into a better situation, it's just advantageous, man. Because again, like if I get to go to the Colts and I've got Jonathan Taylor to hand the ball to, that's a win for me. You got a guy who's a horse, who's a top 2 or 3 running back in the league. I don't know if they're going to keep Quentin Nelson because his cap hit's like $30 million this year. But, I think when you look at all that, it's never bad to slide down the list. Because if you go number 1 overall, it's great for your ego and stuff, but you're going to literally the worst team in the NFL. So, I mean, good luck, because Carolina was putrid last year and they had a fire sale where they traded all the weapons that would have really, if they still had Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore and all these guys, it would have been, really exciting for Bryce Young, but they're all at other teams now. So you're literally going to be handing it to, guys and throw it to Adam Thielen, who's, 10 years in the league. He's kind of at the very end of the rope. But Nevada, the guy that I know that the Packers will not draft is Jackson Smith-Njigba, because I'm sure they'll take like a backup tight end or something like that. Where do you think Jackson Smith-Njigba ends up? We showed a mock draft before you got on where he went 23rd overall to the Vikings, which I think would be terrifying if he was with Justin Jefferson. Where do you think he goes? Maybe not if it's not a team, is it a top 10, top 15, top 25? Where do you think his ceiling and floor is in this draft?
I think he's a top 20 pick for sure. Like, hey, I know the Jets need to pick offensive linemen to protect Rodgers, but man, can you imagine adding Jackson Smith-Njigba with Garrett Wilson there and Alan Lazard for the Jets? That would be that would be fun. That would be fun. So no, I think he's a top 20 guy. In fact, yeah, I think he's a borderline top 15 guy. I would be shocked to see him down in the 20s. Just for the reason, the simple reason is you saw guys go 8, 9, 10 last year in Wilson, Olave, and JMO, and they're all similar players to Jackson Smith-Njigba. And you look at the impact. Obviously Jameson Williams was injured, but Wilson and Olave just were outstanding, and those were top 10 picks. And I don't think any of the teams that took him regret it. So I would be shocked if Jackson Smith-Njigba isn't a top 20 pick this year, and I think somebody's going to get some real good value when they take him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm looking at Matt Miller, who's a really good ESPN guy. He's got, this one's really interesting. So he's at 2, he's got Will Anderson Jr. going. He's got CJ going at 4. Then at 12, or at 11, excuse me, the Tennessee Titans taking Will Levis. And then at 12, he has Jackson Smith-Njigba going to the Houston Texans. So after they pass on CJ Stroud, so I guess rolling with Davis Mills, which is insane to me. And then they got your Packers taking your boy Dalton Kincaid, a tight end from Utah, which there can't be anything more exciting than that. And then they have Paris actually going 14 to the Patriots. I don't know how on earth the Tennessee Titans could pass on Paris Johnson at 11 when they need a left. They cut Taylor Lewan. They need a left tackle more than anything on earth. And you have a guy who could be the best player in the draft sitting there at 11 and he falls to you, which again, for Paris being a 20-year-old with his gargantuan wingspan and his athleticism and his foot speed, I just don't know how he's not a top 5 pick. Again, I know that he could get better technically. Gave up a couple sacks last year that, his technique was a little wonky, but his tools are just outer worldly. What do you think Paris's ceiling is in Florida? Because I think that his ceiling to me is 9 with the Bears. Which this is the first mock draft where I've seen them not take a left tackle, because every other one seems to have him taking the kid from Northwestern. And I think that his floor is 11 with the Titans. I hate saying that out loud because when I see these drafts that have the Titans taking Will Levis, that's kind of crazy to me. But what do you think Paris's ceiling in floor is?
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much you have it pegged. I mean, I don't. Well, let's start with the floor. I don't think there's any way he gets past Tennessee at 11. I just
Yeah.
don't see that. And obviously, if he goes much past that, then at 15 the Jets grab him as they're looking for help on the offensive line as well. But I think he might even sneak up a little bit higher than that. I mean, he may be one of those picks that go a little bit higher that people are like, wow, I remember when Dante Whitner went. What did he went like 8th or something like that to
8.
Buffalo?
Oh my
Yeah,
God. Yeah.
and there were people that were questioning whether or not he should even have declared to go early, and all of a sudden he goes with the 8th pick. So I think I think that he might sneak up there a little bit higher. I think Paris could be a guy that maybe at 7 or 8 that you see somebody take a sniff at him because as you said, he might end up being the best player in the draft and certainly the best value. And you're never going to, the draft is all about avoiding mistakes because when you
Yeah.
make draft picks, you're always graded by your worst picks. And for GMs and head coaches, they always have these nightmares of making these picks that make them look bad. The guys don't end up playing. Well, Parrish is about as safe a pick as you can get. And so, given people's, propensity to try to avoid mistakes and not wanting to look stupid, somebody's going to take Paris Johnson. No way they can look dumb making that pick, and I think that's why a safe pick like him could be a little bit higher.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that again, Paris, he's a kid that is mature beyond his years. He runs a really nice foundation. The Paris Johnson Foundation helps out veterans. His mom is raised him right. Like that kid has got it on point. He graduated in 3 years, first team All American. He's about to be a first round pick. So again, I don't see the downside to taking Paris, and I just see massive. I see NFL Hall of Fame type upside with what Paris can do. So Matt Miller's mock draft on ESPN, he actually does all 7 rounds. So at 61 to the Chicago Bears, he has our boy DeWand Jones, Nevada. Does DeWand, if the over-under is at 61, and I want you guys that are watching right now to put this in the chat, put it in the comments, over-under 61, which is literally right at the end of the second round almost, on DeWand. Does he end up before 61, after 61? I could see him slide into the third round. I could be crazy, but again, he's a different cat. He's 6'8", 380. Kind of rubs some teams the wrong way by not working out at pro day. Refused to step on the scale at pro day, which never a good thing when they say, "Hey, we jump on there and so we can see if you weigh 400 pounds or not." So that was kind of funny by DeWand, but he didn't do anything after that first day at the Senior Bowl. Man, he cashed out. And but do you think DeWand 61 above or below?
I'm going above that. I think he'll go. I think he'll go later than the end of the second round. I've kind of had an epiphany in the last 24 hours on DeWand. I was thinking that he'd be a second round pick, and now I think it's going to go lower than that. I do think he has rubbed teams the wrong way. I don't think he did particularly well during the interview sections, and I think that kind of his lackadaisical take some plays off kind of attitude is making teams wary about wasting a super high selection on him. So I got him in the third, maybe even the fourth round.
Yeah, again, he's a guy who's a right tackle only, 6'8", 375. Like, and that's when he's been working out and cutting weight. So I mean, again, like Orlando Brown Jr. just signed up with the Bengals, massive contract, multiple year Pro Bowler. That is the guy that DeWand should send, I don't know, a gift card or buy him a Maserati or something, because that's the guy that's the prototype supersized tackle. And a lot of people avoided Orlando Brown Jr. because he had the worst combine of all time. He ran like a 5'9", 40 and bench like 10 reps despite weighing 380 and all that. And then once he got out there and played for the Ravens, he was a Pro Bowler. He played Pro Bowl left tackle, traded to the Chiefs. Super Bowl champion, gave up no sacks versus the Eagles, who had like 78 sacks going into the Super Bowl, and just signed a huge deal with the Bengals. And I've known that kid since recruiting, loved him and his mom, great kid, and I'm very happy for him. But that's who Dewan's comping to right now. And again, I think that, if Dewan can lock in, he could have that kind of career, but you got to lock in, man. It's tough. You go to the league, he's the guy that needs to be in the right program and have the right coach and the right stuff around him. And he's the guy that has no ceiling, but where he goes will dictate how his career goes. Right after that, 62 was Dewan, 64, Luke Whippler to the Chicago Bears again. That's literally the first pick of the third round. Luke Whippler, does he sneak into the second round, Nevada? Does he go third round? Over under on 64, which is the first pick of the third round for Luke Whippler.
Again, I'm probably going to go higher than that. But having said that, we've talked about this before. But when you look at the success of the recent run of Ohio State centers, a guy like Whippler's, a real valuable pick. I mean, who would have thought that Josh Myers could have just headed right out and stepped in for Corey Linsley, the highest paid center of all time, and not miss a beat? And the Packers, would they get Josh in the second or third round or whatever? Well, I know it wasn't the first. So for a guy like Whippler, and what was Corey? Corey was a fifth round pick or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're drafting and you're looking at Ohio State centers, I mean, that's a something, and that means something. And if I'm a team drafting and I have any kind of a need, along the line, in the center line, I think Whippler's another safe pick, another guy that I think his bust potential is really limited. His bust outcome is really only limited to potential injury or something which is really true for every player. But no, I think he goes higher than 64. But I think he's a great value for someone who can get him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Last one we'll do, Zach Harrison. They have him going 67 overall to the Broncos. Over under 67 for Zach Harrison, Nevada.
I'm going over, and I higher later, not 67. I'm just not as high on Zach Harrison as a lot of people are. Not that I'm not trying to be Mr. Mean or anything like that.
No, of course not.
I don't see it in Zach. I think he plays a little high. I think his first step generally is up, not forward. And I think that's why he, I always found him to be, in my opinion, to be a little bit underachieving when he was in and it had nothing to do with him being a 5-star, being compared to Bosa. I'm just looking at it just as an elite defensive end, because that's really what you need at Ohio State is elite defensive ends. I don't think he ever lived up to that rating. I know PFF loved him, some Zach Harrison, and some teams are gonna love some Zach Harrison, but I just don't see it. I don't see that burst. I don't see that that Baron Browning, that Draymond Jones. I mean, I don't see that Davon Hamilton. I don't see that stuff that you can't get from somebody else. And so I'm selling my Zach Harrison stock. And again, not trying to be mean. Love all my Buckeyes. Appreciate everything they did for him when he was here. But I think teams can do better.
Yeah, I think Zach is a guy that has, he has good talent. I think he was hurt by the fact that he wasn't able to run his 40 and pop off a big time. He was the guy that people thought was going to be a workout warrior, but that was kind of what his whole thing was. Watch, he's going to run a 4.5 and he's going to weigh 270 and whatever, but he couldn't run his 40. He got hurt, pulled a hamstring, whatever. I think my problem with Zach Harrison is he's just too easy to block. He's a guy, it's kind of questionable. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the kid, but he was a captain his junior year. He was not a captain his senior year. They made Tyler Friday a captain who didn't play at all. They made Court Williams a captain who didn't play at all over him. So he had a chance to be a 2-time captain. And for whatever reason, Ryan Day did not make him a captain for his senior year. So it's weird when you have a guy like him and Taraji Mitchell as captains as juniors, and then they come back for their senior year and they're not captains. So, and obviously Taraji has taken a 6th year at Florida, transferred out. Zach's in. I lied. We're going to do one more. They have Ronnie Hickman, who declared early before the Michigan game, and then his play just fell off a cliff. Did not have a good Michigan game, did not have a good Georgia game. They have him going 209, which is towards the end of the 6th round, to the New York Giants. Over under 209 for Ronnie Rocket Hickman, Nevada. And everybody in the chat, you can also do the over under as well.
I'm going to go under on that one, even though I thought that I thought Ronnie's play really tailed off, and it was before the last couple of games. I thought his play like the last 6-7 games really just wasn't impactful. I think he was just a guy. He'd be out there and running around, and then you'd be like, "Why? Where's Hickman? Did Hickman play?" And like, yeah, he played the whole game. It's like, oh, okay. So, but again, you look at that position's been a good position for Ohio State. Ohio State's really put some productive guys into the NFL at that spot, and for that reason, again, I'll say that he'll go under that, even though maybe he's a better player than I think he was, but he his play the latter half of this year was really disappointing, and whether it was it didn't seem to be injury related. We hadn't heard anything about any injuries. He just seemed to kind of almost like check out, and I think that hurt the Buckeyes, and ultimately be something that's going to have to keep an eye on, when he's in the NFL, and maybe he can do better. But I think somebody will fall in love with his potential and take him a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna do two non-Buckeyes real quick. Two guys that are near and dear to our heart, both in the fourth round, both kind of side by side. At 105 in Matt Miller's 7-round mock draft to the Arizona Cardinals, Elias Ricks, cornerback from Alabama, our all-time favorite meme, Elias Ricks. Nevada, your all-time favorite corner. Over under 105 for Eli Ricks, the guy who still maybe could be a Buckeye one day.
He could be a Buckeye. He could be. He could be. We have him on Portal Watch right now. We have him on Portal Watch. I've got it on good authority.
Come on home, Eli.
Ryan Day's begging him. It's like, we need a tackle and we need you, Eli. Please come to Ohio State. Please come. So I think he'll go higher than that. I think he had a good year at Alabama, and I'm a super talented player, and cornerbacks that have that kind of athleticism are certainly in great demand at all levels, but certainly at the NFL level. So I think he'll go a little before that.
And then our last one, pick 111, mid fourth round to the Cleveland Browns. Henry To'o, linebacker, Alabama, my hero. He's still trying to move to Columbus. He didn't quite get to Columbus yet, but maybe he'll get the U-Haul squared away to Columbus. Over under 111 for Henry To'o.
I think it's gonna be later than that. Well, who's the other? Don't the Browns have a Taki or something like that on their team?
Yeah,
like Taki.
They could have Taki and To'o. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that would be the great. For that reason alone, I hope that happens. So Taki and To'o, that would be great, man. That would be super awesome.
That would be a play-by-play guy's dream, a color commentator's dream. Well, that's it, man. We broke down the portal tackle. First 20 minutes, big old boy. Looks like he's going to be visiting on Friday. Again, Nevada, he's from San Diego State, redshirt freshman, started some games last year, decent feet. What are your thoughts on bringing in a portal tackle? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it upsets the room? I don't know how good this guy is. Like I said, he played at San Diego State, which isn't quite playing at Ohio State or Clemson or Georgia or Bama. Is it worth bringing in a portal tackle? And are we going to bring in two portal tackles and pay them both $1 million?
No, we're not bringing in two portal tackles. And here's the challenge. And this is what people have to remember about the offensive line position. And you and I have talked about this before, but this is really an important point. Offensive line, even though you're starting more guys than at any other position on the field, you've got 5 guys starting the offensive line, you generally play fewer guys than any other. It's not like defensive line where you're doing hockey line shifts and you're playing 8, 10, 12 guys on the defensive line. On the offensive line, you're playing 5 guys, maybe 6, maybe 7 guys, and that's it. If you're going beyond that, we haven't had to go beyond that in the past 2 decades. So you're generally playing 5, 6 guys, and those are the guys that are gobbling up all the minutes. So what happens when you have 2 of your starters leave early to the NFL? Well, then that's going to be you're going to position where you're going to have to put guys to play that haven't seen a lot of action before. And that's not necessarily like, oh my God, how could that? It's because the position doesn't go 10 or 12 deep. You just had 2 guys go early to the draft on top of guys that have gone early to draft before that. And so what you've got is a very inexperienced room. So if you're going to bring somebody in, just make sure that they're a Jonah Jackson or a Justin Fields at the quarterback position or a Trace Sermon at running back, somebody who's a can't miss. Don't just fill with a guy. And I'm not sure about the tackle from San Diego State. Justin recruited him coming out of high school. I would hope that he's got a better read on the kid than most people do. Having said that, Justin Fry brought in Cutler from La Tech, and Cutler's just a guy. I mean, nobody's. I mean, I haven't heard anything from anybody that's like, wow, he's unbelievable. He's just a guy. So, does Fry lose credibility with me on that? A little. I mean, a little. When your first portal move is a guy that really, I'm not saying he can't ever play here, but right now he can't play here. So it does bring into question what he's doing. And I have serious questions about the quality of guys in the second portal window. Just you go across college football and you look at these guys that are, if you're in the portal in the second window, if you're really good, you're going to the NFL. Yeah, if you were really good before, you're coming before this window because you want to go through spring ball. If you're coming through at this point in time, boy, it's really, I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it would be really questionable to me that you're going to find some starting gem at a position of need for a team like Ohio State. I'm skeptical hippo on it. Maybe this guy's the answer. I guess we'll find out.
And here's my thought, just from being in the situation where, you're a redshirt freshman, you started last year. Why would you ever go through spring ball or even sit out spring ball and wait around to go to your new school? Because I think spring ball is critical. I think that winter conditioning is critical. I think you want to get familiar with your teammates, with your surroundings, with your strength coach, with your position coach. You want to learn the offense. So, if you're really serious about playing football at a high level, you need to transfer in that first window so that you can go get to know your teammates. Like Davison Igbenogson did it perfect. He got here. He was great in the workouts, really earned the trust of his teammates, his coaches. Guys on defense speak very highly of him. They say he's a competitive guy, works, keeps himself. He's not some idiot. And again, I think that's you start building trust. So when spring ball hits, then all of a sudden the coaches and your teammates are like, okay, this guy, he's a dog. He was really good in the workouts. He worked hard in the gym. He assimilated with the culture. Where now when you do it after spring ball, you're going to get here for summer conditioning. You're not going to have any time to learn the plays. I mean, you'll be learning them kind of by yourself, with your position coach or with the GA, trying to learn it, but you're not getting the physical reps, the mental reps of doing it in spring ball, which is, again, is why spring ball is so critical. And then, you're going to start camp in August, and, it's like to get to Ohio State and start off at summer conditioning. It's like showing up. You've never really, you've run a little bit, but then you got to go run the Boston Marathon or something. Like you have to they kind of ramp it up. They do the winter conditioning where it's a ramp up. Then they do spring ball, and then summer conditioning is a higher ramp that starts. And again, if I was in this kid's shoes, man, I'd have been here in January, and I'd have been ready to rock and get to know my teammates, get to know the scheme. So then when you hit training camp in August, everything's second nature in terms of learning the playbook. But that's my opinion. Again, I think it's a fairy tale when people talk about we're going to get these great tackles out of the portal. We might get a guy, but the great guys are gone. There weren't any great guys at all in the portal this year. The guy went to USC from Washington State. He wasn't a great guy. Just a lot of meh guys, and I think that when you lose 3 guys early to the draft, it is a massive rebuild on the O-line. And again, Justin Fry, this is year he's going to earn his money. And I love Justin Fry, but I've been in rooms where you've got the horses coming back, and I've been in rooms where you got to train the horses essentially, so you have Paris and Dewan coming back because Greg Studwar did a great job recruiting and getting those guys in here, because Dewan was a 3-star basketball player that he took as a monster project, and he turned into an NFL draft pick. And Luke Whippler was a guy that left early after 3 years, which nobody planned on. This is where you earn your check. You don't earn your check coaching Paris Johnson. You earn your check coaching these guys. So and get them up to speed to mimic the production of a Paris Johnson. Again, it's kind of like Moneyball. Like you lose Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon, and you got to replace them with, some designated hitter and David Justice and whatever. That's kind of what the O-line's got to be like this year. You lost Giambi, you lost Damon, you got to replace the production, and it's doable if you get creative with the pass protections. If you get creative with your play calling, you can help these guys out. Don't put them in empty. Don't have them, out on an island by themselves, versus really good players. Because again, you have to remember when you're at Ohio State, 10 or 11 of the 12 teams on your basic schedule don't have pass rushers that can really affect you. There might be, Michigan might have one, Penn State might have one, but when they see JT and Jack Sawyer, those guys are better than every team we play against pass rushers. They're best pass rushers. So, then when you get to the playoffs, you got to go see Georgia, go see Bama, then you got to level up a little bit. But, you've got a long window to get these guys right. You've got 3 games versus, we play Indiana, Youngstown, New Hampshire, or Antarctica, whoever our third game is, and then you play at Notre Dame. So you got 3 games to get these guys seasoned up, ready to rock, and it'll be good to go. Nevada, we're going to wrap this thing. A lot of great sports on tonight, 2 nights out from the draft. Any final thoughts for all of the great people watching tonight?
No, still on commitment watch. Commitment watch could be imminent, so keep an eye on Twitter. Keep an eye on things. We are definitely on Panda Watch day number 4 right now, and I think it could be happening. So stay tuned. And Elias Ricks still could be coming to the Buckeyes as well.
I ordered my Elias Ricks #1 Buckeye jersey. One is open for him, so I'm excited about that. So. Well, we're going to wrap this. Again, great show. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for kicking it with us, as always. Would love your thoughts on, would you guys tune in if we did a live NFL draft watch party? I've been kicking that around a little bit. Maybe at least for the first, 20 picks or so. That'll probably take a couple hours, but I'd love to kick it with you guys. I love the NFL draft. I love it's a Thursday night now. But love your thoughts on that. I hope you guys are doing great. Again, shout out where you're from. Do it every episode. I never get tired of reading it. Even if you write it every single day. If you're in New Albany, you're in Temecula, wherever, do it every day. I love that. It's awesome. So we appreciate you guys as always. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell so that when we go live, you guys are ready to rock and you guys can bring those great questions like you guys always do. So I am going to go jump on BuckeyeScoop.com. This has been absolutely on fire. We had a huge chat today. Got the bank chat coming Thursday. We have a big NFL draft there that's already popping off. People are making predictions, projections. It's the place to be, man. And we are breaking down film, breaking down recruits, breaking down transfer portal targets. It's just nonstop action. If you're a huge Ohio State supporter, which I know all of you are, you need to join BuckeyeScoop.com because it is the #1 site for Ohio State sports and intel. So we got some new stuff coming. Might be getting into the wrestling game, man. I mean, the wrestling program really wants to start covering them. I talked to Tom Ryan. I think it'd be fantastic. I love wrestling. It's a great sport, great people behind it. So we'll see where that takes us. So hope you guys are doing great. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and we're getting close to that NFL draft. So let me know if you guys want to tune in for an all-night draft chat. Talk to you guys soon. Go Bucks.